all you devils. Happy Friday. Sam here with you. Oh, it's 12:15 here on the 28th of April. Of course, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We'll look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tesla today. I've got a trade shared with me from a member of my team with an actionable setup here, and that might be something to consider. So we'll look at that in just a sec here. So let's pick up on Bitcoin right where we left off here. Excuse my mic. So last week, we were kind of looking here. Note here, I'm number one. I'm on BitGet, right? That's our sponsor, and I'm on a daily chart. And we were kind of wrestling with, all right, sure looks like 5 is down, anticipating, potentially we get a B, and then we'd be looking to come down here for that C. Well, we got some volatility. Let's just say it that way, right? As to what it is, why it is. I don't know. I'd read some things about. Some Mount Gox, am I saying that right? Gox? I think so. Just some wallets moving Bitcoin. Whatever it is, it spooked the market. And you had one of your little liquidation crises. Decent example of why, there's a trade-off, trading with margin, right? So I'm sure there's plenty of liquidations on that kind of spike down. But as we look out here at a distance where Elliott is always more effective, right? I've said that for as long as I've been teaching it, right? Really, you could 60, really, I would say 4 hours and above. It's where it's most effective. And you're not changing your counts on such a regular basis here. Now, that said, that's not making the count here any easier to identify. This is unusual, right? It can be interpreted multiple ways. Often, I know, right? That's the negative people have on Elliott. But I think we can, as to whether or not it's correctly labeled here, this is one of several, right? I mean, I've got members on my team looking at it very differently. What I'm trying to do is simplify here. Now, I know there's a lot of lines on here, and it's always easier when it's your own chart. So hopefully we can decipher this to where it's useful. I do have the Sonar Labs, their smart money concepts indicator on. It's always just it's useful in terms of identifying, right? If you don't do it yourself, right? For identifying where we're likely going to find supply and demand. Well, okay, right? It's not too hard to see, right? This was pretty effective, right? Now, that doesn't mean we can't blow right through it, but right now there's supply up here and we're tapping it twice. And it lends itself to what we're always trying to do with Elliott, which is to simplify it. Can I get the bloody 5s and 3s sorted out? Well, now, of course, there's no certainty, right? We don't know, but the setup here, I mean, I don't know that you could script it any better, right? So we'd be coming down to complete the 3. Now, is it here, here, here? We can look at the structure here and say, well, good God, if it came in here. You'll note also as well here, maybe it's hidden a little bit here, but there's a green order block right here. So we know we have demand here because this is the last swing low that led to the break of structure. So we leave behind this demand zone here, and it also just fits in so amazingly well with just the general structure of the market here. So resistance, we're through. Now, if we come back and test, I'd be personally, right? This is if we get an opportunity to buy here at 25 and change, I would be aggressive there. Not with leverage. I don't have time to babysit. To be perfectly honest with you, it's not that I wouldn't. I don't have time to stay on top of it, right? So I would, again, this is just me, right? My situation is such that I would just be buying here in spot, but I'd be fairly aggressive there myself in terms of size, distribution, or capital allocation, or a percentage of account, right? I'm nothing irrational, but certainly I think that's an area to be aggressive. Again, we've got, we could not have a better macro background to be bullish for an asset like Bitcoin. Now, that said, you're not getting the rocket launch that you might have thought, right? With multiple bank failures and the volatility in the stock market here, and potentially now, let's see, the market looks like risk assets. There's certainly been some demand this week, right? As we're in the middle of earnings, right? So that's part of it. So the question becomes: there's relentless discussion amongst all the same people that I'm sure see in your feeds, and whatever financial media that you're prone to watching here, there's just a nonstop course about recession is coming, recession is coming, recession is coming. And if that's the case and there's a pullback on risk appetite, Bitcoin could get caught in that. But my view is that the bigger problem with Bitcoin in general at the moment, right, or you could say it for all of crypto, is just the lack of clarity with regard to regulation. Until that's sorted out, institutions likely to stay less aggressive than they might if we could get some clarity there. Right? It's just, the U.S. could really blow it here. But all that remains to be seen. We as technicians, you don't want to have a lack of awareness of what's happening fundamentally, and I don't, I'm not going into on-chain analytics, that kind of, it's not a requirement to be successful, but for those that really like to dig into that, there's plenty of resources for that. I'm just looking at this going, okay, I got a pretty impressive swing. The internal count, we'll have it eventually, but I mean, it's your best guesstimate right now because we don't get a clean 1-2. So is this the 1-2 and we're gonna have a tiny 3? It's almost like we forgot the 1-2. We just got a 3, 4, 5. Where's your 1-2? Right? Pick your retrace. Right? This maybe, right? If we pull back here and this ends up being a completed impulse, we'll probably have to do it there. The one thing that keeps you teasing that is that if this is the one and we're going to have just this tiny little 3 here, you would have to be looking at this. We'll look at this as an alternate in just a sec. You'd have to be looking at this as an expanded B, and we're correcting down here. Now, I'm not prepared to go there yet. I think we have to consider the very real alternate here, and again, it's anybody's guess, right? Nobody has clarity on this. That we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that we've completed here. So if this completes the initial one, this is a clean impulse. I don't think we have dispute about this being a candidate for, well, at least a candidate for a completed impulse. 3 corrects it. Now, the labeling here is a challenge for any Elliottician, right? You're making your best guesstimate. It strikes me that there's enough here to imply that I've got a follow-up impulse, but not likely to be the 3, right? So if it's 1, 2, well, yeah, that degree is too big. Let me change that. Let's bring that down. Come on, TradingView. Oh, don't do that to me. Oh, here, hang on a sec. All right, back. A little TradingView freeze. I do have a lot open. Okay, but back to where I was, right? So we complete a 1 here. We complete a 2 here. Is it 3, 4, 5? So this is a candidate, right? Again, just a candidate for a completed 1 wave at a higher degree. Now, we can consider this 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Now you're back to, oh God, how are we counting that? What I'm proposing here is that it's complete, right? Which may not be as clear as I'm trying to make it here. If this is the 1, this is the 2, then this is the 3 here, right? So we go 3, triangle 4, and we complete the 5 to give us a 1, 2. Oh, shit, I feel like I'm not presenting this as clearly as I should. Let me draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now, does anybody love that as your launch off the low? I don't, but that's what the market is offering here. That's the way it reads. Applying some Elliott here. Now, again, there are multiple ways we can interpret this, but right now, until proven otherwise, I'm just working off of the swing structure. Well, if this is a completed 1, of course, we'd be looking to pull for the 2 all the way off of this, because if this is the 1, we'd be anticipating, again, no requirement for the market to do this, a deeper 2. I had a few comments on this last week, both members as well as some YouTube subs. Hang on. So why would you be pulling from here? Well, the reason I'm pulling from here, remember the measure move algo, right? Doesn't care about the Elliott wave at all, right? There's no read in of Elliott wave, right? That's just us trying to add a little confluence to where we see the market reacting. So the reason this is an area of interest is because the algo used it. I think we've shown this enough times, right? Do it here. And let's see here, let's come out of log, right? So if we do it here and we're out of log scale, we get a perfect golden zone here. Perfect, right? First target, and we actually get second target here. So perhaps this makes it a little bit easier to read it out of log. Now, what we lose here is the nice framing of the market via that set of median lines. So we look at a low here at 15 and a high at 31. You're on the edge of whether or not you need to use median lines, right? So I'm not saying you must, but it is interesting how nicely this shapes up, right? And we get this nice upper edge here. So I'm a little torn here. It's not so far from swing low to swing high. It's not so far that we have to use log scale, but it is interesting how this is staying well framed by the market, and then the perfect median line tag here as well. There's no right answer here, right? You could do it this way. Of course, we could. Let me hide that and just give you an alternate. Let's hide that and say, well, wait a second, but wouldn't that be a golden corner? Well, yes, it would be, right? So again, algo does not care. Let's give it a little bit wider. Algo doesn't care. Is it any less? Let's see if I get which one of these is best. Well, might be better there, but we've got a double top here, so sometimes it's a little bit of a trial and error to see which seems to fit where the market is responding. I'm a little sloppy down here. Okay, so and we've looked at this a couple of times, right? So there's your 80% is realized, right? Now here, because I'm using different pivots here, we get a similar relationship here. I'm going to pull that off since that's already been realized, where we're hovering right around the median line, and that's trading principle number 3. If we're not going to pivot exactly on it, the market might hover. Let me get that out of there. Market will often hover around it while it decides, is it going lower median or upper median? Well, here, again, that's, of course, this would be logical. Come here. That we would stall right here at the POC. Right now, this is the Sonar Labs volume profile, and it's taking the swing low to swing high and then drawing that volume profile. So it's no surprise. There's POC. We're hovering right here. So technically, it's interesting. Now, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've completed, that's where we get a little bit of a conundrum. Because if it's completed, we'd be anticipating a deeper retracement, right? We just went through that. But that said, right, we know the algo doesn't care. So if I just pull from a pivot that I know the algo used, and I come here, God, this is hard to not pay attention to. I mean, again, anything down here in the 25, whether we end up having to pull from down here, it almost doesn't matter to me. I've got a swing here. I'm looking to correct it in 3. Now, I don't know that we're coming down here. For all I know, we're going off to the moon. But right now, there's a pattern here that I can identify, and it makes sense to me. So I would be comfortable getting on the short side here, although I rarely am shorting Bitcoin. The alternate would be to wait, right? It's up to you or the individual, is to wait to see if we break this low. And if we come down here, do we get into some of this range? Now, this is textbook perfect. Are we going to get perfect? We don't need to count on that, but certainly if you saw that, and again, you don't have to sit down here with a limit order. If you got a reaction out of that would be, an area of interest. Let's say it that way, right? We're right here at a big demand zone, right? If I draw it out, here's the swing down before we got a pop here that went up and gave us a break of structure. So we know there's demand here. We got some fair value gaps there and just below as well. But if it comes deeper, right now, you see this is where you gotta be at peace with this. If it comes deeper here, you got to decide: are you willing to take the drawdown all the way down to something lower? Because if it's coming for a more traditional 2, we'd be looking for it down here. Now, do you want to take that level of drawdown? It's roughly $5,000, right? So that may not be in part of your plan or within your risk tolerance. So you got 2 choices: reduce the size, no leverage, right? This would be one option. Reduce the size and scale in, right? If we're coming down to something like this, you can make damn near as strong an argument here that if we come down here, you'd have this structure to play off as well. I mean, here, we've got them all wicked off. Come here. got them all wicked off here. So we're coming golden zone. Well, that would be mighty deep here. So then at that point, you'd really be leaning hard into the idea that this was that we completed up here, and this is would be a very deep correction. We don't need to go there yet. All right, and you can, just looking at that, you can say, well, wait a minute, that would be a monster C. So something very negative is happening with regards to just crypto, Bitcoin, risk assets in general if we start to free fall like that. Well, so that's too much to read in. So I look at it here and I go, all right, well, I mean, this is unusual. Perhaps we get a less traditional retracement here. It would be very compelling right here to be considering longs here. Again, you don't have to load the boat, but this would be an area of interest, say it that way. Now, just so we're considering an alternate here, let me go and just so we've got it. This is no Elliott here, just working off of supply and demand zones here. So what have we got? An 8 hour here. We pop the demand up to the supply. Right now we're stuck in that range. This doesn't necessarily give you a solution here other than the last thing you've tapped is a supply zone here. And we're in here, if I draw it, and we're in the premium, right? So we're above the 50. So if you were looking to be on the short side, this would be the reasonable place to be doing it, looking for it to come and take out and sweep that low, right? This is the strong high because it broke the structure. So you'd be looking for a move down here to sweep these lows. Right, so if you're looking for a trade, that's one way to do it. Oh, let me come over one here. This is with a little Elliott applied. Can we make sense of this? This is a 4 hour again on BitGet. We had considered a couple of alternates last week. Is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into an A wave? This is a B. And then as we just looked at it here, let me complete it. If this is an A wave and this is a B wave, and then we're coming down here for a C wave, there's the 25 and change. So that would be your more typical, although this is certainly not typical. Now, what are we doing here, right? Is this 1, 2? Doesn't really look like it, right? It looks like some sort of a triangle. Are we doing that? It's not a clear read, right? And this, we've dropped and got it all back. All that does is create confusion. And it disrupts the count a bit, right? So you could go WXY into a B, A, B, so pick your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the C to give you a candidate for a B. Right now on the 4 hour, the supply zone's a little bit higher. We didn't quite get there. You'd be anticipating that move down. Let's look at the alternate, right, for the bulls, right? So this is from one of my senseis. This is James M. We went over this on Wednesday in a live stream. Similar in that, let's see. What is he giving me? Let's go to a 2 hour here. He and I both agree this is a good candidate for a 1-2, but then he's getting here in a different way, right? So this is for bulls that think we've got a good low here and there's no reason to be expecting deeper prices, at least at this point in time. So from the 2 here, we would go 1, 2, and then yet again into it. Now, meaning, right, this 3, 4, 5 still has to complete. We're going to go into that from that 1, 2 into a 1. Let me take that off. I'm going to confuse you, right? So this is the pivot of the 2. So we'd go from this 2 into a 1, A, B triangle. We'd get so we'd have A, B, C into an A, B, C into an expanded B, and then we come down with an impulse, right? So we don't overlap this the potential 1 here. We hold the median line. He's drawing it from a different pivot, right? And we are not in log, but we hold this from the 2 low. We hold the center line and get that reaction and all that volatility. So to play that a little bit further, if I go back to, you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which gives you a candidate for the C. I mean, this is such an irregular formation, right? But this is perfectly valid count. If this is the 2, it would be from here, 1, 2, and then we've got another 1, and we're working through the correction, or mighty deep here. This is unusual, say it that way. It's unusual, but we'd have a C and we'd have a 1, 2. Doesn't look like we're launching into a 3. Looks like perhaps there's more correction to come here, or this is just going to get complex, right? This is starting to look triangle-like. It's certainly not an impulse. What is that, right? So it looks more like that's probably an A, some sort of an A, B, C coming in here. WX, Y, it's hard to call that, right? So here, as we come down to a 60, very hard to get any kind of read on that as to what it is, right? Which is almost why I'm reluctant to even try and label it. It's so unusual. We're just going to have to let, which side we're coming out of that before you're going to have any conviction in how you're counting that. But, it doesn't hurt to make the attempt to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, W, X, Y would be what I would be leaning into there, but right, that can change fast. Oh God, let's see. And then over here, this is no Elliott, just market structure. Which side of this are we on? Well, this is the strong swing high. This is the swing low. So the anticipation is, because this is the strong high because it gave us internal breaks of structure. And of course, just in basic market structure, when we get a break of structure like this, then we're anticipating the retrace, right? That's bullish, and we'd be looking for this to continue to carry on. So it's a little bit of mixed signals down here on the 2 hour. But what? And this is whether you're applying Elliott or not. We can just kind of look here and say, well, all right. Well, there's obviously where all the battleground is. This is fair value, right? If we just look at it that way. Elliott count. My view is always, if it's not adding value to your analysis, take it off the chart. I'm not, with the exception of out on the daily here where we're tagging that median line, I don't think there's any value add to work the Elliott here. I think it's more important. Let's look at where the structure is, where the demand and supply zones are. Here I'm on a 2 hour. You can take this to a 4 just out of curiosity. See if we change it up anymore. So here we get kind of in this range. So as we sit here in a range between supply and demand. At this point, we're above value. Right, if you just use the 50, if we just look at the swing structure here, we're in the premium zone here. If we were coming down lower, at least if you were going to be a buyer, right, you always want to try and buy it, right, on sale if you can. This is just me drawing that in here, as in, well, clearly there would be location here if we were coming down here a little bit further. And again, it's just as I had it drawn, right? We've got this nice little air pocket here where we have very little business done, right? It went to and through so quickly. So you'd have that little air pocket there coming in right at the 50, just working off of swing low, right? That's the swing that we know that the algo's used. Oh shit, is it this one? This one? We know they used it. Right, so it would be just reasonable to consider that we know the algo is going to use it. So if we come in here, I guess I got it twice there. 50 would be an area of interest. Got a fair value gap here, right, as well, as we went up so fast, right? So imbalances here, air pocket in the volume profile, prior structure, area of interest. All right, how am I doing? 22. I think let's hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait. I know this is, I've gotten a lot of people are confused by this count. It's because the count is confusing. This is anybody's best guess. Again, just to summarize here, I've got a swing. I'm looking for 3 to correct it, right, and play with that structure. I wouldn't not buy here because, it's not to the 50, it's not to the golden zone, so I'm not going to buy it. No, I would start buying right there. That's my plan, right? 25, 208, anywhere in that range. Right down here, I'd start nibbling. Note here as well, the air pocket we've got in the volume profile, right? Imbalance, right? So one or two things happen when you get there. Either it rejects on the ledge, or it just falls right through it, and you'd come into where the next spot where you'd have a little bit of support would just line up so beautifully with the median lines. So I think hurry up and wait there unless you want to be on the short side. I think that is the at least as it sits here technically, right? Even if we just isolate it and say, okay, if you had to trade it, which nobody does, but if you had to trade it, well, I mean, again, even if we look at this range here, right, and say, okay, which side of the range we are? Well, at least we'd be selling up here in the premium with a target down here, 25. What are we at? 29. So there's a 4 or 5K swing there if it flies. We'll see. Okay, let's go over to ETH here, and I'll keep moving. What do I got here? it's not dramatically different, as you might suspect, right? Looks like we've got an impulse down, working on the correction, or potentially a B coming down for the C, right? Same kind of thing. Now, it's equally as confusing here. Is this 1, 2, 1? Well, it plays a little bit better here because I get a 1, 2 here. So if I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1, W, X, Y into a 2, 1, 2, 3, triangle, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a little iffy on the finish. But I get 5 coming down. I think this plays a little bit more cleanly, and I'm less tempted to think expanded B here because I can dig a 5 out of that. Could it be an expanded B? Yeah, it could. Yeah, you could probably do something like this. Get that ABC in there. Let's get you in yellow. Stay consistent. Trying to do that. There we go. ABC. If we expand the B, we're down for the what? 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. That just doesn't have the right look. So my view is more probable, right? So that's all we get, right? It's probable. More probable that we complete it here. This swing completes, and we're starting the correction. No, we went right to the God MA. Right? Just for those that don't know, this is the average of the 200 and the EMA and SMA. Right, and it's a nice proxy for the Vegas wave. Just frees up a little chart space. We're right at the demand. We've got 2 order blocks right there. Prior structure, 200, 38. I mean, I wouldn't be longing here, but down here, I'd be very, very, very interested. Right, kind of same thought, playing off of that. Pick your pivots, right? Anything down here would be of interest. All right, let me keep moving here because I think this is a lot of hurry up and wait here. So I don't think there's a lot that's actionable other than those of you that are comfortable getting on the short side. Let's take a look at Tesla. Okay, so when I had this up not long ago on a live stream, which by the way we do now every Wednesday, and we had looked at this. I actually had the count differently. I was thinking that we had ABC W, X, Y. Oh shit, I got the wrong one on here. I want the full boat. I'd have W, X, Y, X, and I was looking for a Z. That's ABC, ABC, ABC. For the Y, so W, X, Y, X, A. So when I brought this up, we had considered this possibility. Well, so we didn't get it, right? So you would change the count because we didn't get a 3 here. We just got a waterfall. But what's key here is what do we have right here? Right, there's your golden corner pocket. Now, note that, right? So I say that and I say, well, boy, there's an interesting sell because you're looking here, double top. Why there? What's there? Why can't we rally? Well, that's why. Well, pardon me. The measured move, the golden zone is why it can't rally. We come all the way down. We get first, just shy of second. But most importantly, note what we didn't do. Right, we didn't tag the median line, right? And now we're heading back the other way. Well, trading principle number 4 from Andrew's work, failure to make the median line sets up a move equal to or greater than the move that failed to get there, which would make this your target. So if this is, because this now looks like it's just an impulsive finish here, you would reorient your count. Now this was shared with me this morning. I've already been in and out of this trade. This was shared with me this morning by a member of my team. That's PK Acevenda. He's our newest sensei. He's a level 3 certified Elliottician, right? One of the best Elliotticians I've ever met. And he shared this with me this morning in a little video he did. And I thought, oh, that's so good. Let's share it on today's video. So now the count, the potential here is that we've done a diag. So you'd have A, B, C, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Overlapping, right? And then finishing with the 5. So we've got an expanding diag into an A wave, right? We have a target based on pattern probability because we didn't tag the median line. Now, I say that you could reorient your count, right? You could do it this way, and you could say, "Oh, hang on, let's get this out of here." Right? I mean, you could curve fit it, but the reason I'm not doing that is because this is what gave me the golden corner. So if I go back here and I say, okay, well, let's try some of these others, right? Is that any better? Right? Got my 80%. Right? Now if I go here, no, well, let's do it this way. Come here. So the first one hits. So the only alternate here would be the next one here. That hits. Right? So we got 1 in a row, 2 in a row, both getting their 80%. Let's see if I can do this. And then we pop over to this one, fully anticipating we're going to get that 80%. Now, you can put it over here. It's worse, right? So this is the last pivot before we come down. We don't get there, right? First one gets it. Second one gets it. Third one misses. Well, interesting, right? Look what starts to happen. So this is a candidate for an A wave. Now, with this, let's get this off there. With that as a potential hard pivot for us, what do we get, right? So we get 5 coming up. Oh, let's get all of this out of here. Let's get this one off. All right, so I've got this. So clearly we finish something here, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get a finish down here. Actually, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here. Gets us a candidate, right? It's a candidate for an A wave. Well, A, B. Now, if you wanted to be a purple belt member with us, right? That's a trade you'd want to take because we only let you trade 3s and C's, but that would be the C of the B, right? So you're looking for the aggressive leg here, and you've got reasonable target. Well, there's the algo target, right? We're out of a 50. We don't have a golden, but I do have a corner pocket, right? So I've got a corner here with an 80% probability that I get there. Now 80 is not 100. We've got the miss here, and we know that this is the target, right? So because that's the strong, that's the last pivot that gave us break of structure. So if we're going to go up here, I don't know that I'd be anticipating we'd break that because that's the strong high, but that would be a reasonable target. So we'd have A, B. So you'd be anticipating we're going to come out of here and we're going to get an impulse, right? That would be ideal. We'd get an impulse into that C. So you could trade the entire leg, or if you wanted to trade, right, stay with the 3s and the C's, you could trade the 3 of the C. 3 of the C. Now, all of that setting up, right? Let's think about it. If this is A and that's a B, where would we be anticipating that resistance with regards to where the algo is? Right here at the median line, just ahead of the strong pivot, right? Nothing says we couldn't break there, but right now that's the strong pivot that gave us the break structure. So you'd be looking here, the whole thing just plays beautifully. If we're going to get that. No, listen, we don't know, right? So what would make you reluctant to take this? Well, man, it looks like the trend is down. Yeah, the trend is down. We're playing the correction in the trend. And we're playing off of the nice pattern that sits here. We in this case, looks like we got a WX, ABC into a Y. So we've got a good pivot down here. We're in the pocket. Note this little gap down here. All right, just tapped into it, right? Trying to fill the gap. Now we got a little reaction there. Now you could buy. I mean, I've already been in and out of this, right? Just on a day trade, you could buy some options there and do pretty well on your money. What I would be looking for longer term here. Maybe we come up here. We know we got a fair value gap. We got potential supply here, right? This is me. I drew this here. That's probably confusing. It's the same color. Here at fair value gaps down here, we've got supply overhead, right? So we've got to get through that. So the alternate for something longer term would be let's see how it deals with this, and if we get a little retrace there, that's the one you could take. All right, if you want to be a little more conservative, right? You just same thing as we would always suggest. All right, maybe something along these lines here, so you get into that pocket here, so you're making that risk reward much more palatable. Oh shit. Oh, where is it? There we go. All right, so now you want to go for the big one? Well, you're going to have to buy time, right? You want to give that enough time, right? So that means, options are at the money options. You're probably, $1,000, $2,000, something like that. You could do it as a spread to offset the costs. You'd be capping your upside. A lot of different ways you could trade this. You could sell puts, use that. You could sell a put credit spread, right? So your hedge should the market collapse. You would define the risk there and use that premium to pay for the cost of the call, right? Now, as we get a little higher, then you could, again, if you're experienced, you could sell some out of the money calls to offset this. So you'd essentially be in for as close to having it paid for by the out of the money options as possible, selling the put spread. I mean, you could sell a call spread up here to offset. You're not going to get as much, but I mean, the point is you've got a trade here that is potentially in play. That's all, right? That's all we're doing, right? We're looking for trades that are in play. Is there logic here that makes sense? Do we have a pattern that we recognize? Okay, is the risk reward favorable? Can we use geometry? Is there confluence? Is the Elliott count consistent? Right? What else do we have? Oh, I don't think I don't have anything underneath. Oh, well, you don't need it, right? You don't need it. Right now, we're below the 200, right? That might be, oh, well, I don't want to take that below the 200. You got to think about it. You want to get out to a daily as well. Do I have a daily? Yeah, I do have a daily. I thought I had an 8-hour. We could put this in log scale. What is this? Oh, let's see if I can get that. Let's see if I can get to a weekly here. I'm going to make this worse. We've got to go to log scale. Give that a little more perspective. Likely, these are going to be significant. I think, as I recall, this is a perfect. Maybe not. I thought it was. Oh, because it's out of log scale. I think this is a good looking measured move. Anyway, so here we've got a good tag here. We go third target. That's not surprising. So 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. Now starting that correction. So if you think about what we're correcting from, now here I'm on a longer time frame, right? If that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, of this last impulse, well, okay. So look where we're targeting. Once we get up here, right? Now we're not there yet. You'd be looking for that. So you're playing the long to eventually get to where you're positioned to short it. Let's see if I get all this stuff out of there. See if that makes more sense. All right, so you'd be looking for that kind of a play. So A, B, we just looked at it. Now we're out to the 3-day. This way. Right, so you'd be looking for that right there. So you'd be 250, 251. You'd be looking for that C to complete, to give you that B, to give you that target for the C. So your whole plan is to play this. 5, followed by 3, followed by 5, coming down to market structure, coming down to a 50. Is Tesla going to go that low? I know you're careful about trying to say, oh, no way Tesla's ever going to go that low. No way Tesla would ever go that low. No way. Well, this is COVID. Don't like it? Right? Trade the C, right? If you're just a Tesla bull, and the many are perma bulls, if you're a Tesla bull, there you go. If you're not comfortable with the side, with the getting on the short side, wait for this to complete. That could be a long wait. We're talking about 2025 here, 24. That could be a long wait, right? So you got to pick your poison, right? How you want to approach the market. I don't think you have to wait that long. I think you can trade this right now, and then reevaluate when you get up here. What's going on in the broader market? Right here. So I think it's a little easier to digest on a daily. 5 followed by 3, anticipating 5. Okay, guys, there we go. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there. We'll be back on, when am I back? Wednesday. Back on Wednesday for another live stream. Members have been great. I'm getting great content from them. Really appreciate you guys. Getting ready. I'm gonna be less available just for members. I'll be less available next week. We're gonna start recording all the content for the brown belt, which I think you guys are going to be really happy to see. It's really, so far, really liking what we're seeing. And I've got Sensei PK Acevenda, who's our level 3 certified electrician, working with me on the content to give you something that's beyond just what I would teach you. Okay, guys, there you go. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch up with you next year, probably on Wednesday. Okay, guys, take it easy.